Here we are early this morning, cotton field, very first farm we started defoliating 5 days ago, and with the warm temperatures this week, this stuff has really progressed quite a bit. It looks a lot different than from the video where I showed you where we were actually getting started defoliating. But as green as this is, we're going to have to make 2 passes, once with the Tribufos finish and Esafun, and then we're going to come back probably in about 7 days after a lot of the leaves have already dropped. We'll come back again with Tribufos.
We're back out here today. It has been 6 days since we applied the first shot of defoliant on the first bit of cotton ground that got sprayed. So I'm back out here putting out our second shot and trying to get this cotton situated to where hopefully in about 10 days we can start picking. We're running another heavy dose of ethafon with a little ET in it, and just trying to get this cotton to come on and wake up and pop open. I get out of this little cookie cutter field and get to where I can show you some stuff. Turn the camera around and let you see what cotton looks like so far with one shot of defoliant on it.
These warm temperatures the last week have been exactly what we needed to progress this cotton crop. And I'm really pleased with the defoliation results so far. We're still a long ways away from actually picking this cotton, but it's in 5 days made huge advances here. You can see we got a whole lot of leaves on the ground. Still got some on the plants. That's why we're going to have to make 2 passes on the defoliation. But the first pass really did a good job. And what we're actually looking for, we're looking for a complete leaf drop on our first shot, or to get as many of the leaves off on the first time as we can. And this is how defoliant works. It injures the leaf enough to where it doesn't actually kill the plant, doesn't kill the leaf, but it causes the plant to want to shed it. So when you press down on the leaf, it just pops right off. And like I said, the defoliant's not done working. It's only been 5 days. We're early in the process, but it causes an abscission layer right there at the base of the stem of the leaf and causes it to shed. And what we don't want is we don't want stuck leaves, because then these leaves will die, and then when the cotton picker comes through it, those leaves will pretty much be ground up into fine particles and will contaminate the lint. This is so satisfying. I could just stand out here all day long just dropping leaves. Now some of these leaves have gotten a little too injured and don't want to come off too easy. A lot of them will eventually drop off given enough time. But now that we got most of the leaves off the top canopy, we got the leaves on the lower canopy exposed, and I'm thinking tomorrow we'll come back with our second shot. You see, all of these bowls are now exposed, don't have leaves covering them, so now we can come back with a stout dose of ethifine, get them on the bowls. Gonna have a bunch of sunlight reaching these bowls now, and that will encourage them to really open. The ethifine we've already applied, we applied a light dose of ethifine, but that already got the process started on these bowls cracking. Squeeze one here. Yep. I don't know if you hear it or not, but it popped. You can see it's cracked at the seams right there. So this one is ready to open up. Let's see if we can get this in the pop. Yep. You can hear a little bit of a crack there. So, and here's one here that just cracked recently, starting to open up at the seams. Here's another one that just cracked recently, starting to open up. There's one that's a little bit farther along. And then ultimately, when it's done, we want it to look like that. Now we've really only got 2 more days of warm weather. There's a cold front supposed to move through on Friday. It's supposed to bring us some rain. Rain will actually help in the leaf shed by adding weight to the leaves. But the problem is the temperature's really supposed to drop down. I think the highs on Saturday are supposed to be in the mid 60s with a low of about 43. And cotton's just not going to do any kind of progressing with those temperatures. Now it'll warm up a little bit after that. I think highs in the mid 70s with lows in the upper 40s and low 50s, but the process on getting this cotton ready to harvest is definitely going to slow down. That's why I want to go ahead and maybe put out my second shot a little bit earlier than normal, get a couple days of warm weather on it. Hopefully speed up that process a little bit later on. Today is Wednesday. I'm hoping we start putting our second shot on tomorrow. I'm hoping that maybe this cotton will ready to be picked the Monday of the week after next. So about 10 days after we start applying our second shot. That's what I'm hoping anyways. So satisfying.
All right, we finished up the first shot. The last of the first shot of defoliant on the first of the cotton. Now I'm about to trade out this tank. It's empty. We are now working on the second shot, basically going back again. Zach had just filled up. I'm at the shop. I'm trying to get, now I have to take that tank off and I have to put our burn down tank back on it for the soybean ground that we just finished this week. So that's what I'm gonna go do while I'm waiting on Zach to drive by. Literally, he'll just drive by and then that's my signal to go to the next farm. And until then, I'm working out in this lovely heat. It's October 13th or 14th and it's still 85 degrees outside, so can't complain because it's helping the cotton. So I'm gonna go get the forklift, swap out some tanks. I have to go get a pump, which means I gotta move move all that stuff, and I gotta move that anyway since we have zombie trail tomorrow. This is where we keep all the zombie costumes when it's fall. Yeah, my brain is stuck on fried. So I'm gonna swap everything out and then possibly eat some lunch and then should be good to go back out to the field in about an hour. All right, Ring Around the Rosie is done. Tanks are swapped out. I also had to play Ring Around the Rosie with equipment. That thing is not a good time to start. Not a good time. But very proud of myself because I've stacked that tote. It might be a little crooked, but you know what? It is stacked. It is done. Move that. Proud of myself. I'm not an experienced forklift driver, but I am available for hire for the small jobs. So now I'm gonna wait on Zach and get the next pump set up.
So while Zach and Kelly are getting finished up with the first shot of cotton defoliation and getting started on the second shot, I'm out here getting some of the last of my cover crop drilled. This will have all of our corn ground drilled with cover crop, all of the soybean ground that I'm not going to put in wheat, have it to cover crop. The only thing I'm going to like is about 110 acres of some double crop soybeans that's in the city limits that the pilot would not fly on the cover crop. That's going to be the only bit of cover crop we've got left to plant. I'm not too awful happy with the stand I've got on some of my earlier planted cover crop. Some of that we planted just a few days before all that rain we got between a week and 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I mean, temperatures were warm enough. I think some of the seed rotted in the ground, and we just don't have a great stand in some places on my 2 later planted farms. So kind of disappointed about that. But we've had a problem getting stands all year long. Why should it be any different with the cover crop? We're getting over here towards the edge of the field. I should be running pretty close on seed, so we'll get back here and see what the seed situation looks like. Hey, we're starting to get down a little bit low, but we should have enough to get the rest of this field done. And then we still got to do my cover crop trials on my adaptive management yields. We got where I've got some summer cover crop planted. It was now time to plant winter cover, so we still got to plant that too. But looks like I got enough seed to get all that done. Let me show you what all this seed actually looks like. We're planting 7 different species here. We got cereal rye, annual ryegrass, oats, crimson clover, Austrian winter peas, hairy vetch, lentils, and rapeseed, all in this blend right here. Anyway, this blend I just showed you is what I've come up with. Is going real good in front of corn. It's lower on the grass than what I would do in front of cotton, and has a lot higher concentration of legumes in there to sequester nitrogen out of the atmosphere and fix it into the ground to be available for the corn crop. Plus, it's got a carbon to nitrogen ratio of around 24:1, which is kind of the sweet spot for producing biomass, and having that biomass break down quickly to return all those nutrients to the corn crop, because microbes are the one that break down all of the residue. And to do that, they require nitrogen as a fuel. Well, corn also requires a lot of nitrogen, and requires nitrogen early. So if I plant a too high carbon to nitrogen ratio cover crop mix, the corn crop could actually starve for nitrogen, because the microbes are using any nitrogen that's been applied to break down the residue. So this residue should break down pretty quickly before the serious nitrogen demands of the corn begin. And then once the residue is broken down, a lot of those nutrients that was in the cover crop will then be available for the corn crop to take up, thus fertilizing it for the upcoming year, or supplied it with supplemental fertilizer for the upcoming year. Imagine the next thing we're going to be planting is probably going to be early next week, depending on how much rain we get tomorrow. Probably going to be early next week. We're going to get started with our wheat crop. We got about 70 acres of ground that I just cut the soybeans off of. We're going to have wheat on that, and I'm going to have cover crops. So we're going to try and get that planted, and then the rest of our wheat will come behind cotton whenever we can get that picked. I don't know. Also, something else that could be in very short supply. You know, I talked about fertilizer prices being high, chemicals being high and in short supply. Just found out today that the chicken litter that I would apply before the wheat crop might also be in real short supply because of the run up in fertilizer prices. Everybody else is trying to get their hands on it too, because it's becoming a cheaper fertilizer source now compared to synthetic fertilizer. So it's in a lot higher demand. And all of ours comes out of Kentucky, and typically the farmers in Kentucky aren't willing to pay the price that I'm willing to pay for the chicken litter, so that's why a lot more of it has been available to come back down here. But with the run up in fertilizer prices, it's looking a lot more attractive to the folks up in Kentucky, and a lot of that chicken litter is staying local up there, thus making it harder for us to get. and the chicken houses around here that have just been built to supply Tyson with chickens, the plant that is, you know, just opening up in Humboldt, only about maybe 20% of them are online, so we don't yet have a good source of chicken litter in this area. In a year or two, we should have a really good source, but right now we don't, so I'm still having to depend on chicken litter from Kentucky to fill my needs, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it for this wheat crop or not. Might be able to get some, might not be able to get any. I don't know yet. So that's kind of things we're dealing with right now.
All right, so here's what we're working with so far. The defoliant has done a really good job knocking the foliage off quickly and giving it time to try to open up this cotton as much as it can naturally. I would say, just looking across the field, not counting these end rows, because you know they're going to open up more than the meat of the field, but I would say right now, over the entirety of the farm, over 50% of the bowls have already opened up before I even started with this second shot, giving it second shot of this hormone and drying agent to come on and get it to wake up. But so far, what I'm seeing from this field that's already had the first shot on it, I'm hoping that this cotton's going to surprise me. It's been kind of making me want to pull my hair out all year, just because we had probably the crappiest conditions this spring that I've seen since I've been here. And it was no fault of the cover crop or fertilizer program or anything other than the 13th of May for 10 days it got down to like 45 degrees at night, and cotton hates cold, and it's a sissy to begin with. So it's been playing catch up since day one, and I'm hoping that it's rebounded enough to where it's going to make halfway decent. And now that the leaves are off, there's a ton of bowls here. It's just whether or not they're actually going to make. You never know until it runs to the gym. I've got 3 loads to spray today. It's already 12:30. So I'm going to get these 3 loads sprayed, get back to the shop, and see what else I can get into today.
Tell me this doesn't look like... There's the head, arms, 2 legs. Am I right? Like a starfish. I like to call them Patricks. Lots of Patricks everywhere. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly of farming. Our cotton looks pretty ugly this year. But this farm has already had 1 shot of defoliant on it. So now we're here to get the second, which is going to make, well, we hope, get some of these bowls to open up, really fluff out. Get this one to open up. These green ones probably won't. Just because it's so late. But we're gonna try and get the rest of these open up, fluff out, get rid of all the green growth that is trying to grow back on these plants, and really get the cotton to fluff out so we can pick it. This is a very ugly part of the farm. Looks a little bit better on the back side, but yeah. A lot of people will just show the pretty side of farming and all that fun stuff, but this is real life. Sometimes your crop looks like poop. But with cotton, you really can't count your chickens before they hatch, because it could surprise you. We've had years where Matt's like, oh, it's gonna be 1,800 pounds, and it's like 1,000. So you really don't know until you get it to the gin and they gin it, and then you come back with a weight and a grade. Until then, I just kind of go, eh. But I will say, looking at this is bad. This is pretty bad. But you know what? It's okay. You have years like this and you just roll with the punches. You got to, because if you get depressed and sad about it, well then, what's the point? So yeah, it's all just falling over. And look at this. Like, where's the rows? It's hard to where are they at, yo? Where's the rows? So yeah, this is what it looks like after the first shot. You can see the leaves are on the ground. Got most of the bowls. Some of them open up. So now this shot is going to just pow, make them all come out. But the ones on the top up here specifically, I don't think they're gonna come out. I know Matt is basically throwing the napalm at it, but I really don't think, oh, that's pretty. So this will make this one really just come out and get all fluffy. And then you got some ugly stuff right there. I mean, we got a lot of that. Unfortunately, you got some that are just already, yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I really don't know. We won't know until we pick it, so it is what it is. But hopefully in about 5 days, this is gonna look beautiful. Right now it looks ugly. Oh, here's Zach. Yeah, and hopefully the rest of the stuff will kill all this grass and whatnot. We're gonna try and get out here, I'm pretty sure, as quick as we can to pick this when it is ready, because we still have wheat to plant. And unfortunately, wheat has a deadline, 1 for insurance and 2 for growing. So we've got to get cotton out as quick as possible and put wheat in the ground. So I'm gonna guess we'll probably be picking by end of next week, maybe. So here he is. I'm gonna go fill him up and smell that beautiful smell.